Welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. I've got a special guest with me today. We've been friends for the longest time, so I'll let her introduce herself. Hit it.
Hey guys, I'm so excited to be here. My name is Kinelwe, and like she said, we've been friends forever.
Yep.
And I'm just happy to be here.
So, Ginelwe, tell us what you want to talk about. Tell us about your interests. Tell us about what fuels you.
So I like African studies, I like African literature, I like everything that's African, and I just feel like there's not enough African stories being told out there in the world in books. So that's my interest, and especially I'm interested in the colonial effects of colonialism, on gender in Africa.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. Okay. Could you expand?
Yeah, so I've looked at different writers, African writers, especially as somebody who studied African literature.
Okay, tell us about the African writers.
Okay.
So for those of us who are avid readers, what authors can we look into?
So if you look at the writings, currently, Chimamanda Adichie Ngozi is writing really beautiful stuff, and especially when she talks about her experiences in Nigeria as an African girl writing, trying to become a writer, writing stories, and then having blonde people and with blue eyes, because that's the only literature she was exposed to. So that's a very interesting person to read. And then you had the likes of Flora Nwapa, you had Maria Maba. So you have quite an extensive list of African writers, female writers, Tsitsi Tangayomba, that you can really look into.
Nice.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
very interesting. Yeah.
Great.
So so those writers are looking at the role of women and how women are perceived in society, and they are looking at basically the historical context of women before. We know that.
Wait, do you mean before colonialism? Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
all
before
right.
colonialism. Sorry.
Okay,
yeah.
wow, that is interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting, especially when you think that most women, not most women, but in some cultures, they had chieftaincies that were females.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm serious. Like the Balobedu. Actually, if you look at the character or the woman who is Mujaji, the Rain Queen.
Oh yes,
yeah. And she was a chieftaincy, and you had other chieftaincies in other parts of Africa that are not spoken about, that are not written about, and so the role of women has been relegated to the household, and it has not been expanded upon as they deserve to be.
I'm a bit blown away. But please, Sensei,
Tell us more.
bestow your knowledge upon us.
Yeah.
Wait, are you okay? Yeah, please.
Yeah, I just think, I wish that actually that a lot of more young African girls were exposed to women writers and exposed to history, a real African history, not a colonial African history. You're exposed to how strong women were.
So when you say not a colonial African history, so in your mind, what do you envision life would have been like before? If colonialism had not existed.
Okay, so I always imagine the story of When Rain Clouds Gather, and it's a story by Bessie Head.
Okay.
And Bessie Head is one of the most phenomenal African writers. I love her. I love Bessie Head.
Check her out.
Check out Bessie Head, yes. And When Rain Clouds Gather, she's talking about this African society in Botswana, specifically this village in Botswana, Khulemamidi. And she's talking about how things are happening there. But she gives you these strong characters. And as somebody who grew up in a matriarchal society, pre-colonial women were women who worked hard, not only in the household, they also worked hard in the fields, providing food for the children.
So there were no gender-based stereotypes?
There were to some extent.
Okay.
Because males...
But they were further enforced.
They were further enforced, yes.
Because of colonialism.
Because of colonialism, yeah.
But would we not be where we are now, besides colonialism, because of progression?
Maybe not where we are now, but I think to a certain extent, or to a very large extent, there's no way we could have expected to stay stagnant, because it's adapt or die.
Yes.
So we would have evolved eventually into different characters, into different characterization. But you see, what colonial system might have done, in my opinion, was to reinforce this gender stereotype. So what they've done is, first of all, in many African languages, we don't have a distinction in pronouns like he and she.
Yeah, there's oo.
There's oo.
So
there's
oo doesn't really. Okay, this is Zulu now. Oo doesn't really identify the gender of the person you're referring to.
Yes.
It's just
like Unandi, Amanda, Ushaka, for example. You don't know if Ushaka is a man or woman, but just by that name, you have to explain whether that person is male or female. So we don't have male or female. We have umama, ubaba. That's a man and a woman. So we have that distinction because it's related to motherhood or fatherhood.
But the pronoun oo is very
general. So you have a general oo. So, and because of those distinctions being made, men were taught, basically in a colonial sense, to act in certain ways, right? They were going out now into the mines, they were earning money, so they were taught, listen, you are the man of the house and you are providing everything, so this is what is expected of you. And because we have so much reinforced...
in villages there were certain roles that were just for women. Like men were the hunter and the gatherer.
Yeah.
Women, those are already roles that are already there.
Yeah.
Besides colonialism, not that I'm defending colonialism.
No, those roles exist. They've existed throughout generations. It's not even, for me, it's not the roles that were being played. For me, it's the system of hierarchy that was established.
Okay.
Because the system of hierarchy says somebody is above you.
Okay.
Whereas if it's a role, this is what you do. We're not better or not. We're not
equals.
Yeah, we are equals.
Okay.
We all have a certain role to play. It's like giving birth. Females give birth. We're not saying you are more powerful just because you give birth. Do you know what I'm saying? It's a role.
Wow.
Well, yeah. Yes.
Well, listen.
But the point is, it's now when it comes to hierarchy, when the minute you coming up with a system of privilege and oppression, and which is what colonialism did. It came up with a system of oppression and advantage and privilege, and the system of oppression and privilege says who is going to be more powerful than the other.
Okay.
Despite your roles, whether you both cook or not. A system like that is a system that separates people. It's not a system that brings people together. And so women, unfortunately, have had to bear the brunt of all of that. Women have had to, are the ones who were right, especially Black African women, they were right at the bottom of the chain.
Yeah.
Especially when you think about education that was bestowed on young men and boys.
Okay.
And what work opportunities were there for them economically,
Salaries.
educationally, in every stratosphere, in every spectrum of society. Black women have always been at the bottom. And it's only now in the emergence of what now we call globalization, as it were, that women are beginning to take back that power. Of course, it's still hard, because when you take back power, when you have confidence, they say you are arrogant or you are not female enough or you're trying to act like a man.
Yeah, I hear you. It's basically damned if you don't, damned if you do.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just very interesting things that, in my opinion, I feel like have to be written more about. If you look online, if you look at different media, women, African women especially, are not as highly represented as they should. On television, when they are represented, look at our African stories. They tell women as either they're very frivolous, glamour queens, what do they call them? Slay queens, and airheads, or when they're intelligent and wealthy, they are hard people, they kill people, they are... So we don't have... You can't be nice and beautiful and intelligent at the same time as an African woman. That's basically what they tell you.
Wow.
So, and this is prevalent in history. This is something that has been was reinforced by a colonial system. I'm not saying they have reinvented Africa, but I'm saying that they have reinforced things that we could have done without. Yeah, they've really done. And it also adds to the violence that we see. Like, the minute you tell women how to act, you've told men how to act.
Okay.
And if you're going to emphasize masculinity as about strength and brutality and power, who
that can turn around and bite you.
That could turn around and bite you. And who's at the end of the day, who's feeling all of that? It's your partner and it's your children. So if we are telling women they must stay at home, men must be powerful somewhere else.
We're almost like feeding the monster.
We're feeding the monster. We are feeding the monster, and we've been feeding the monster for a long time. And I wish girls were more exposed to, I'm not saying they must hate men, that is not a solution to anything, it's never solved anything. But girls need to be exposed to reading, they need to be exposed to role models like the late Wangari Maathai, who was a really role model when it came to global change with this global warming and everything. She was really a forerunner in all of those things.
But you don't ever hear about it.
We don't hear about them. Okay. You hardly see it online. You have to be looking for it, you know. We hardly see it, and it's just sad that we are creating a cycle where black women just remain in this cycle of just being,
they're just
of
absent.
just living. They're absent. Yeah,
they're absent.
Yeah, right at the bottom of the food chain, unfortunately. Yeah. I mean, it can change. It can change with consciousness. We just have to be women who support each other, who are there for one another, women who are willing to talk as well. I think we're not talking enough as well.
Okay, but let me ask you this though. Would you say this whole black girl magic is perhaps something that is positive for us black women?
I think it's positive. Look, unfortunately, blackness is seen as a concept, right? Blackness is seen as a concept. That means black people are seen in a group as a concept. Whereas if you look at white people, and I'm sorry, I'm generalizing.
White people are individuals.
The white people tend to be individuals. Like, so you see Mark and Jerry and Lucas. And if Lucas is mean, so you say Lucas is mean. But the minute if it's somebody who is black who is mean,
black people are mean. Black people are lazy. Black people are so generalized.
Exactly. So we are a concept. So blackness is something that must be studied. It's a culture. It's not a set of individuals living their own lives. And I think as soon as we realize those things as black women, we can empower ourselves. We can say, this is what you see, but I'm not going to be ashamed of it. I'm not going to make excuses for it.
Wow.
I'm not going to be like, oh no, I'm not going to accommodate you, because we've been accommodating people. In South Africa especially, colonialism, we are accommodating you. Apartheid, we are accommodating you. Forever.
Okay, let me ask you this. Do you see it ending at some point? Or is this going to be another battle?
I don't see it
for the next 20 years.
For the next 20 years, no, definitely not ending in the next 20 years. And the reason why it won't end in the next 20 years is because women still don't have economic power.
Okay.
And we don't have economic power. We don't still, to a large extent, we don't have educational power. And if you're still looking at literacy statistics in our country, we know that the majority of illiterate people are still black females.
Wow. So that's food for thought. And yeah, thank you so much for that, Kinelwe. Thank you for the knowledge. I'm about to go to Exclusive Books.
No, I'm so happy to be here. Let's have more conversations like these, guys.
Yeah, please get together as women, have these conversations. And thank you so much again for joining us. And yeah, bye.